Welcome to Research Perch from the Massage Therapy Foundation. Short, practical insights into massage therapy research and how it can benefit your practice.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Massage Therapy Foundation Research Perch podcast. We are excited to be here today with Rachel Romanelli and Dr. Nikki Monk. Thank you both for being here. I'm super excited to have you. I appreciate you spending the time. So I would like to take a moment to introduce each of you and then have you guys say a little bit about how you came to be here. Just briefly, how you got involved with everything and all that goodness. So Rachel, you are a massage therapist. You're an educator and a clinic owner, and you have had sort of this through line in your career of basically bridging hands-on clinical care to measurable outcomes, accountability, education, and all of that stuff. That's been sort of the main thing of your career. Is that correct?
Yes, that has been, a bulk of my career. Yeah.
Bulk of your career. And you also designed a supervised hospital-based clinical program, and that was related to doing this kind of stuff. Okay, that's awesome. And that was in Montana, right?
That was in Missoula, Montana.
Okay, and you currently have a clinic in Minneapolis.
I do, yes.
All right. And how did you, we're going to be talking about the case series study for MassageNet today. How did you get involved with this?
Well, Nikki and I met, I want to say it's almost been about 2 years ago now at this point, but through another mutual research friend of ours. And we just started discussing, what our passion was and what our objectives were in creating research and doing research with and for massage therapy and supporting that. And that's how this partnership evolved.
That's awesome. I'm so glad it did too. And Dr. Monk, you are here. You are currently the research director for the Massage Therapy Foundation. However, you have been involved with the foundation for a long time, since 2011. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah, long time.
Yes, in a variety of different ways. In addition, you are also the associate professor and chair of health sciences in Indiana University's School of Health and Human Sciences, correct?
Yes, also been there for a long time. And that's where, when I was first starting my role as an assistant professor, when Research Perch started.
Oh, yay. And right, Research Perch has been around a long time.
It has, since 2013.
I know. I love that. I love that. I love how it keeps evolving and what we're doing and all this stuff. And this is a fun topic. I think it's just always great. The more that we can bring the research world to to everybody, the better. I love that. I know you both do too. So let's jump in. So today we are going to be talking about the case study series that is done through MassageNet. And all of that, all of what that involves. So, Nikki, why don't you give us just a brief overview of what that project entails?
Thank you so much. I'm really excited about this project. It is being run through MassageNet, which is the largest and only international practice-based research network, or PBRN, that is focused exclusively on massage therapists. And in general, PBRNs have a mission and a goal to be able to conduct studies within itself that is derived and created and produced and done by the people that are in the PBRN. So in this case, the folks that are in our PBRN is massage therapists, with the goal of doing practice-based research. So research that is, and data that's being collected in practice as it practices in the real world, which has all manner of inherent challenges. Typically, when PBRNs do an initial study, PBRNs have to be established for quite some time in order to be able to, they might have other engagements and things that they're doing. Studies from external studies might run through the PBRN, but it typically takes anywhere from 5 to 10 years for a study to be able to devise within the PBRN. We're a little ahead of that time schedule in that we relaunched MassageNet back in 2022 at MTRIC 2022. And then at this most recent MTRIC in 2025, back in April, we had our first in-person gathering of MassageNet stakeholders with the intention of being able to start developing this case series study, which in essence is an opportunity for individual massage therapists to contribute to a single case report in their practice about a particular topic. And then within the PBRN and within the way that we're collecting the data, we'll be able to pull all of that information together to be a case series study within the PBRN. And that's what we've been working on and developing the protocol for that. And I want to back up and talk a little bit about how Rachel and I were introduced in this overview and introduction, because it was specifically due to a challenge that is inherent in practice-based research. And that is the way that data is collected systematically. And Rachel, you referred to our mutual research friend. I think we need to give a big old shout out to ABK, to Ambler Kennedy, who is the bridge. There's lots of bridges in this conversation too. And ABK connected us together, knowing about the case series study, knowing about PBRN work, knowing about Rachel and the work that she's been doing as a way to bridge that challenge in practice of being able to systematically collect measures. And then in a research setting within practice, trying to figure out how to systematically collect outcomes between different practices and different clinicians. And she's like, Nikki, you really need to talk with this gal, Rachel, that I know, who's been developing a system to be able to do this in a seamless way. Because in the research world, there are ways of collecting data and survey data at that are really big with things called REDCap. Most of us are familiar with things like SurveyMonkey or Qualtrics because we've taken online surveys in either our workplace or just online or whatever. And those sorts of engines, but they do have some inherent challenges. Those marketing type ones have some inherent challenges from a research standpoint. And then the research ones like Qualtrics and REDCap have some inherent challenges in trying to do that in an accessible way in a practice setting. And so that's a place where Rachel has a lot to say around this work that she's been doing. So is that introduction enough? Did I hit on all the things?
I think you hit on all the things. And what you kept coming back to in there is that these challenges and how you, as the theme of Bridges today, and how you have a goal of collecting this and then how you deal with the challenges of doing that. So Rachel, I'd love you to speak to some of the main challenges around that, and then how in this particular instance, how you guys decided to bridge those challenges.
Yeah, well, thank you. And thank you, Nikki, for the wonderful introduction to all of this, and also the shout out to ABK as well. So yeah, awesome, because that's how this all really came to be. And I love all the wonderful connections that we have within our massage therapy community and all the talents that we bring in these areas to make these things happen. So I would say my research, started, oh my gosh, it's 25 years ago or so, when things were on paper, and paper has challenges. And the challenges, I think that, we find, whether it's a paper or, whether it's an Excel spreadsheet or, something that we're looking at, or if you're looking at a doc flow and hospital-based work too, is how is a question asked? How is it being answered by that patient? And then what's the documentation of the practitioner, and what's the follow-up? And then how do you get those results really at the end? So there's 4 parts to all of these things and what those challenges can be. And so as I began working through doing research, not only in Montana, but also here, I started working with a company that could help put these things into a streamlined way to make it really accessible for a patient to use and for a practitioner to use. Meaning that, the way that a research platform where you take out those challenges is how do you do that? Do you do that when they come in? Do you give them a piece of paper? Is it something that the practitioner reports? So you're looking at all these different things. What we really came up with is saying, okay, when a patient comes into the office and they check in with either your front desk, no matter where that practitioner is, or if they're checking in with the practitioner itself, if they're checking in and they're using a QR code to pull into a pre-survey, that's a really easy way for a person to be compliant and to not be influenced by any other outside source, meaning asking those questions, because a person asking can also be an influence too, but to ask all the questions that you need to in that pre-survey, whatever it is that you're looking for, and to have that summarized and submitted, and then have the practitioner have the ability to also then report on that too, and then have an instant follow-up that comes after that session to the patient that's sent in a link right back to their phone that they can open up and fill out, submit, and then that's one closed unit of information that gets taken back and then put into our data bank of information that we can then go ahead and recover and work through. So making it accessible to the patient and to the practitioner is really what we were looking for, because there are so many things that you can capture within that. It's like, usually in our industry, we look at, okay, so, what are we looking at for pain? What are we looking at for anxiety? But there's so many other things that we can actually work on and gather information on. And how do you do that in one very succinct way where it's captured right there? They're not walking out the door and filling out something later. That practitioner has to fill it out right there, and you're capturing as much as you can in one place. So I can go on and on. I can talk about a lot of things. So I have to kind of zip it and move on. So is that good?
I have two things that I want to highlight and point out about what you were just talking about, Rachel. One is one of the challenges is delivery bias that can happen when information is being collected. And so some of the and fair critical assessments on research that's been done in massage therapy land and other integrative practices or any practitioner delivered practice is that if it's the clinician who has just provided the care or who is going to provide the care, delivering the sort, even if they're just handing them the piece of paper that says, how was your treatment today, right? The person who is filling out the survey may have a bias or be influenced by, want to make this person happy that was there, or any sort of piece around this. And so what Rachel was talking about was figuring out a way to deliver the questions to the recipient of the care in such a way that it doesn't have that potential bias. And so being able to have it in this discrete way of, okay, it's on their personal device or what have you. So that's the one piece I want to point out, that the system that Rachel and her colleagues have developed that we're implementing in our case series study, it reduces that piece, but then it also does this other critical piece of keeping the single observation, and you called it a unit of information, which is great, Rachel. I call it an observation. But so those two things are being used interchangeably here. We want to keep all that information together. And typically in practice, those things are all kept in separate places. The patient or the recipient is, has this paperwork that they fill in. It may be inputted in a system, separate from it, but it's not necessarily linked directly to what then the practitioner might be able to put pieces in. And so the system of being able to, and in our research instance and case, being able to have this unit of information or this observation be continuous through entry point into the case study, into the study itself, getting pre-information, getting what happened in the treatment with a different person putting that information in, and that's the clinician, and then being able to still link that same data point, this unit of information, to then the outcomes after the intervention has occurred, and potentially even later on if there were follow-up pieces. So that the vehicle, the platform to be able to put all that information in the same place, so that not only do we have the treatment recipient, the treatment provider, But then at the end, the back end, the researcher and the person that's going to be looking at the data to be able to access and see that flow across not just one information unit, but across multiple information units all consistently. All of those things have to come together in this perfect little circular bridge, as it were. And this particular platform was a really nice fit to be able to do all these things.
That's great. So Nikki, you're mentioning several things like trying to do this, trying to get, trying to make this match up with this so that there's this through line. Rachel, what were some of the tweaks you needed to do on the platform to manage that? What were some of the challenges along the way that you're like, okay, I need to tweak this, so that we can better consolidate what we're trying to consolidate?
Well, I think really, and this is the fun part, it's the creative piece in the beginning. So in working with Nikki, we're working with this concept of what things do we want, a practitioner to report in a case series, and how do we want to make it easy for that practitioner to report it? And how do we want to make it easy for the patient to report too? So really in this platform, I generally, when I work with anyone working on a survey or study research, I say, okay, tell me everything that you want this to do. And then we need to go back to this and we'll tell you how we can do it. And so, for example, one of the things that we had talked about is, well, okay, when a practitioner is reporting what they're doing, there's kind of like the nuts and bolts of I did this modality for so long, and you can check that box. And I did this modality for so long over here, and this is the area that I worked on. But then what other things might that practitioner want to share that isn't something that's just like checking a box or filling in something? So can they audio clip it? Yes, you can actually use an audio recording in here and talk about what it was that practitioner used or why they used a certain modality in this certain case. So they can talk about what that is. So that's I'll say that's one kind of technical challenge. But how do you want to get the information out from the person so that we can get as much as we can possible? So yeah, there really isn't any kind of, hard challenge or tweak that can't be met. There's a lot of scalability within this platform for both patients and practitioners to get the information out that we need or we're looking for. And there's always other stuff that we end up finding in the end. That's also part of the scalability too, when you're, really looking through all the research, is that we're probably going to find things that are going to be very surprising that we didn't know we were looking for to begin with. And I like that. So.
Nikki, did you have any follow-ups to that in terms of things that you guys know? I know that Rachel did the tweaking in this and stuff, but things that you were wanting that were able to happen through this platform?
Well, so far, everything that the protocol and the design of the work has needed, we've been able to figure out how to have the system work in order to do that. Ultimately, the study has not launched yet. We are in processes of finalizing the protocol draft and the protocol draft being what are the processes of everything and how it's going to work. Because again, this case series study is an effort that is being derived within the membership of the PBRN of MassageNet. And so we're putting together the protocol with all the ins and outs. We've been having a series of virtual convenings to inform this protocol over the past several months. And our next steps with this is to have a commenting period for members of MassageNet to be able to look at the protocol, ask questions, make suggestions, and then we're planning to launch, after all of these pieces are incorporated in, we're planning to launch the case series study within MassageNet after getting IRB approval. And ideally, mid-spring-ish, so we're looking at April as the time to be able to launch that case series study, collect data for about a year, so that once we wrap up data collection, we'll have a good solid year to be able to work on analysis of the data that comes in, to be able to present at MTRIC 2028. So we'll be able to see a really nice full circle around relaunch of MassageNet MTRIC 2022, first in-person convening and starting the ball rolling for this case series study, and first internal research study being done in MassageNet, study being conducted through MassageNet for those period of time to the next when we get to report at MTRIC 2028.
So I have a question for each of you in our time remaining. I would like to each of you briefly, Rachel, I'll start with you. What are the outcomes, or why is this study important? Why is this important? And what inspired you to want to do this? I know that's a huge question, but why is this an important thing? What are you wanting this to provide to the field?
I think that research is so important, period, in our profession. And I'm so absolutely excited to work with Nikki, and have really enjoyed working with her and all the different possibilities that we're coming up with, and the passion and the reason why we are doing this, I would say, and why I'm involved in this and supporting this, is that we're looking at supporting the profession. I think anything that you do, and that might be an absolute, but anything you do like in research, like really what we're looking for is we're continually looking for this standard of practice, right? How are we all practicing? What is the scope of what we're practicing, and what conditions are we practicing with? What are we seeing? And that standard of practice really then leads and supports the standard of care. And a standard of care then is something that we as professionals can use, as we continue on, in the healthcare field, so that any condition that you come up with, or that you're treating, you have that standard of practice, you have that standard of care, and you have some reasonable outcomes that you're looking at. So working with Nikki in this, and it's this being like the largest network, and also the largest human-based study research project right now that we're working with. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but yes. But that we're amassing all of this information so that we can share this with Massage Foundation and massage therapists, and hopefully do more. Like, this is like a launching piece, and it's very exciting for all of that. Again, I can talk and go on, but really it is my interest and passion, in summary, is to help support the standard of practice and help support the standard of care within our profession.
Yeah, I love it. It is very exciting. I love that. Nikki, how about you?
I've unmuted. You see, I'm rearing to go. Okay. So I've got a couple of answers to this, because truly there's multiple layers, particularly around the why is it important, and then the goals for the field. Mm-hmm. So the study is important for many different reasons. From a logistical standpoint and a structural standpoint, it's important for MassageNet to be able to demonstrate that within this environment, which is in practice, real massage therapists working with real people who are receiving massage therapy with real challenging, complex health conditions, and just the messy that every individuals bring in their lives, right, into care, that within that environment, data can be systematically collected, and that research can be run within this practice environment in massage therapy as a field, right? So that's a really important key piece that this project will be able to demonstrate. So that's just a logistical type outcome and importance and relevance for this effort. Now, from an outcomes-based piece, it's also very important, because this has the potential to be the single largest practice reflective and broadest practice reflective study that's been done in our field, and potentially also the largest case series that's been done in our field. And that, again, reflects practice, practitioners doing what they do with the folks that are showing up. That we get questions all the time around, well, what is it that massage therapists do? How do they approach this and to what outcome? Which is essentially the research question that this case series study wants to answer. How do massage therapists approach X, a condition, in their practice, and to what effect? So it's how do massage therapists approach is being answered by the massage clinician notes for their different observations that are coming through, their different patients that are coming through, or clients that are coming through, and they're part of the case series study. And then to what effect is what the massage recipient is going to be answering.
Right.
So I'm so excited for this, not only because of what it is and what it will be, but the potential that it has of impact in our field of being able to very clearly and accurately describe what it is that we're doing, and to be able to have it done systematically, being collected systematically under an IRB approval, such that we'll be able to get these materials written up and disseminated and reported in the scientific literature. All important pieces to help continue to elevate our field within the research realm, which is essential from a health profession standpoint of being able to be regarded for other data that's out there and other systems where people are accessing healthcare.
I love it. Rachel, were you going to say something else?
Just was going to say ditto. Thank you, Nikki, for setting all of that up very succinctly.
Yeah. This is great. I appreciate both of the time that you two have put in today, but also that in the way bigger picture, the time of putting the time you've put into research for the profession, because what you just summarized, Nikki, the ability for practitioners to then take this information in a future day and apply it, the work that goes behind that, the work that goes into research, as you said at the beginning, can be a several-year arc. And I just want to make a note of that and thank you for the investment, not only for the time you have put into that, you guys have both put into that, but that this entire group of people in MassageNet, what they're creating, what they're providing for future practitioners and future clients of those practitioners, I think is a really amazing, beautiful thing. And it is, as we've said, the theme for today, bridging that gap between what we know, what we can learn, how we measure that, and then how we can apply it for the benefit of the people that we work with. And I think it's beautiful. So thank you both for your time today. This was great. Nikki, go ahead.
Yeah, I want to, on that thanking piece, I want to acknowledge that there are so many folks that have been engaged and involved in this.
Right.
MassageNet, I talk about it being relaunched in 2022, but this is from an original effort that the Massage Therapy Foundation funded even 10 years prior to that, where Geraldine Cambron, who was a former Massage Therapy Foundation president, and Jen Dexheimer really set that stage of launching the original MassageNet, and others in the Massage Therapy Foundation and other volunteers, Sammy Zabel among them, who's been really instrumental in relaunching MassageNet and establishing and starting this case series study. And then so many MassageNet members and other stakeholders who have been making contributions through showing up at the MTRIC 2025 member event and that first convening and the virtual convenings that we've been doing. There's going to be so many more opportunities for folks to be involved in this, whether it's through this commenting period on the protocol, potentially being involved in those invited to come and work on the write-up effort on this, and then also being a practitioner who's running the case series study in their practice. So anybody who's a MassageNet member, and people can still continue to join. If you're not a MassageNet member, people can still easily become one and be a part of this research study for the field.
Yeah. And access to that MassageNet can be found on the Massage Therapy Foundation website.
Yes.
And it's so wonderful. And then Rachel, I just wanted to give you a minute to just say the name of the platform and where people can learn more about it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So the platform is Applied Practice Results Operating System, so APROS, and so it's just apros.io.
Okay.
You would look. So
Great. Thank you so much. We will put links to those, and we appreciate you sharing that with us. So thank you again, both for your time. I hope you have a great day. And I know we're going to do this again. I know as this study gets going, and it is going, but as it continues and you start doing all of the magic that you guys have already started, that we will meet here again and talk about how it's going.
Oh, I'm excited for that invitation. We're definitely going to take you up on it.
All right. You guys have a great day, and thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Annie.
Bye.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please consider donating to the Massage Therapy Foundation so that we can continue to bring you this and many other resources to increase your knowledge and improve your practice. Thank you.